Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to some more Legacy of the Void. Now recently I made a video explaining how powerful the Nydus Worm can be versus Terran players in Legacy of the Void, especially if they are going for a bit of a more greedy play, get that third command center early on. They can basically just straight up die as soon as you add on, the Nydus Worm and start rallying units from the inside out of their main base. Now in this specific game, I'm gonna do something very similar, however this is going to be a Zerg versus Protoss. And in Zerg versus Protoss they've made a couple of changes. Early on in Legacy of the Void you could actually do the exact same build like we saw in Zerg versus Terran, where you add on roaches on 2 bases, but mostly add on a ton of queens. However, a couple months ago, or I don't actually know exactly how long it has been, but a couple patches ago, they have changed the Mothership Core, so now it can actually Photon overcharge pylons rather than nexuses. So in the past, you could obviously Photon overcharge a nexus, it would last like 45 seconds, I believe, and it would cost 100 energy. Right now, you can actually Photon overcharge a pylon instead. It's a whole bunch weaker, but it does make it much easier for them to defend those kind of all-in. So right now, if you would be going for any kind of aggressive moves, and they have actually set up a proper sim city, it is going to be very difficult to make the Nydus Worm work, because let's say, you got a Nydus right here, they're just simply gonna Photon overcharge like 3 pylons that are hanging around, and there's no way you will be able to stop that. So versus standard Protoss builds, the Nydus all-in doesn't really work. However, if your opponent is going to be spending a lot of resources early on and they're going to try their very hardest to do a ton of damage early, you may very well have a chance. So what the game that we got right here is going to be for a guy known by the name of Immortal Past. I am trying to go immediately into a third base, but then I realized my opponent indeed put out 3 pylons at the bottom of my ramp. And I know immediately what this means. He's gonna basically cancel one of the pylons, put down a cannon there instead, or actually he glitches his way through right there, and it forces the probe to get on the outside, and he's gonna still end up canceling one of the pylons and replace it with a cannon. So this is something that a lot of you will likely have been in. So this scenario right here is where your opponent just simply makes a whole bunch of cannons, adds on a bunch of pylons as well, and they're just trying to do as much damage as possible. Now, one of the things that I've noticed that is actually very, very good to do versus these kind of all-ins, because we do plan on following this up with a Nydus Worm, is actually leave that hatchery up. We want him to commit as much as possible to whatever is going on right here, because the more minerals he wastes right here, the less his defense in the main base is gonna be. I've already decided at this point in the game that I'm gonna be going for a 1 base all-in, and honestly, because we are starting with 12 workers in Legacy of the Void, you don't really have to worry about the 350 minerals, including the cost of the drone, that you lose from not cancelling the hatchery. I mean, it's not gonna do you very much, and what he would have done is only wasted 200 minerals right there, and then another 150 obviously on that cannon. But instead right now what he has decided to do is add on 2 more cannons and potentially even another pylon. So the more he wastes right here, the more it's going to be useful for us. Now you gotta keep in mind, this is a complete all-in, right? We are gonna follow this up with a Nydus, a very quick lair as well. And in the meantime, on the other side of the map, we see that the Protoss player literally has absolutely nothing. Now, let's say he would have not been committing to these cannons. He probably would have already had a gateway up right here, potentially even a pylon right there as well, maybe even a second gateway as well. So the more we make him commit to this cannon rush, the better it is gonna be for us. And I am basically, just watching him at this point in the game, trying to figure out exactly how much he is going to be wasting, and the more cannons he adds on, the better it is for us, like I already said. So I am adding in that second gas, guys. They're also putting in the spine crawler. I do not want him to get a pylon up on the high ground at all. If he gets high ground vision, he can actually continue this cannon rush inside of my main base, and that's not what we want to do. But I'm just trying to sneak out a couple of Zerglings right here, just mostly for scouting, but obviously he is still not sure if I'm going to go completely all in. So I do end up getting that second gas going. I also do get the queen right there. I'm gonna start making as many drones as possible until I hit that max saturation, but I immediately teched up to a lair. So basically what I've done, I noticed that the cannon rush was there, I left the natural up and going, and I'm just simply committing into more and more workers right here, get that roach burn up, get the lair going, and just go for the fastest possible Nydus that I can possibly get. Now, the Nydus on this, or the spine crawl on this specific map doesn't actually reach the natural, so you're gonna have to adjust to whatever is going on right here. But this is actually a very, very nice approach. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is that if you're gonna Nydus your opponent from the inside out in this scenario, you have to make sure that you don't just, put down the Nydus Worm right there next to a bunch of pylons. You need to sort of scout around ground right here and figure out exactly where that Nydus should be going down. In the worst case scenario, you may even want to put it outside of the main base. But I know for a fact right now that this is only just now going up, and the Cyber Core is the one unit that he needs in order to create the Mothership Core. The Mothership Core is the one unit that gives him the Photon Overcharge, and while the shenanigans is going on at home, I'm just trying to buy time for that one. If I start the Nydus Worm, by the time he also is starting up the Cybernetics Core or a little bit afterwards, I know for a fact that the Mothership Core will not be done in time. So whatever damage I do with roaches right here is nice. I'm adding on more queens as well, just trying to find a place with my Overlord where he does not have the, you know, where he does not have a pylon close by. Knowing that, like I mentioned, the Photon Overcharge is really the only thing that can be stopping this. If you manage to get there and make him commit a lot early on and get there before the Mothership Core is done, you have a very, very big chance at winning. Now, one more thing to point out here as well, and this is obviously going to take a little bit of practice as well for you to start involving this in your game. That queen is just like appearing out of the ground right here. But anyway, I did skip one of the injects on this queen to make sure that we have that 53 energy right there. So we have at least one transfuse available, which is crucial. The first unit that you put in a Nydus network is also going to be the first one that pops out of it. So I put in the high energy queen first. You know, I am planning on putting down a Nydus somewhere over here. Obviously in Legacy of the Void, the Nydus Worm cannot be attacked while it is still building. And I'm gonna try and just simply use that queen to pop out first, hit the transfuse if it turns out to be necessary, and therefore try and buy myself enough time to make sure that we get, you know, all the units out. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So I'm looking around on the other side of the map, found a position where I can very well make use of this scenario, cleaning up whatever he had going on right there, and just rallying more and more units into the Nydus Worm right now. Now, he already has a bunch of probes hanging around right here. He's trying desperately to get up that pylon, but the Mothership Core isn't even out yet. So the more we made him commit right there by getting that natural up, the more we eventually, you know, are able to do in damage. But just simply forcing out more cannons of my opponent and him trying to hold on desperately with cannons in the mineral lines, or in the natural rather, and, you know, delaying that Cybernetics Core. So in this scenario, my opponent does decide to leave the game immediately. Honestly, I think I have about 80% win rate right now in Legacy of the Void. When they do go for a cannon rush, there are some follow-ups that are very difficult and, you know, very difficult to hold. But in these specific scenarios, and this is like the prime example on how most cannon rushes go down, you can just simply get the victory from getting a Nydus Worm in your opposing or in your opponent's main, as long as you play it a little bit smart. Hopefully this video taught you something about Zerg versus Protoss. If you did, let me know down below by hitting that like button. And also, if you have any other suggestions of something that you would want to see more of, you know, on my YouTube channel or anything in particular, let me know in the comment section, because I'm always looking out for new video ideas. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, and I'll see you in the next one.